Even General Motors has stated it does not plan to use deep-sea mine minerals. Our company's public stance on deep-sea mining matters. Tesla is the face of the EV transition, and its ambiguous position on deep-sea mining could drive investment in this controversial industry. Conversely, a clear stance restricting Tesla's use of deep-sea minerals can drive innovation in battery mineral tech, recycling, and circularity. With these technologies, even the most ambitious future EV use scenarios could be met without harming the deep sea. Tesla's failure to take a stand on deep-sea mining, combined with the fact that a former Tesla board director is now serving as a board member and special advisor to the CEO of the metals company, the very company leading the charge on deep-sea mining, raises concerns. Such a relationship appears to imply that Tesla supports the metals company in its activities.
我感觉没有什么特别的重要的，所以我就晚开始一点啊。后面那个伊朗应该会有一个presentation， 他应该会。
Until science shows deep-sea mining will not cause significant or irreparable damage. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Levy. The board's response is set forth in the proxy. Please note that now is the final opportunity to submit any votes in order for them to be counted.
第一次看股东大会啊，所以我觉得很好。我觉得这一次就是一个对我们股东的一个，包括我自己也是一个重新的一个学习的机会啊，一个学习机会啊，我觉得真的挺好的。我觉得。
With respect to the 7 stockholder proposals, our stockholders have approved the recommendations of the Tesla board on all of them except for Proposal 6 regarding director terms and Proposal 7.
对，前面就是一般就是一些股东提的一些提案啊，基本上都是被否决的，基本上都是被否决的，每次都这样，挺好玩的。
Our stockholders have approved the election of our 2 Class 2 directors, James Murdoch and Kimball Musk, to serve for a term of 3 years and until their respective successors are duly elected and qualified.
所以这两个人都重新当选了。他们两个人都是比较有争议的，其实，在特斯拉的这个股东里面。
Stockholders have approved executive compensation on a non-binding advisory basis.
今天股价没 hold 得住啊
Third, our stockholders have approved the ratification of appointment of
不要太在意今天一天的收盘价。
as Tesla's independent registered public accounting firm for the 2024 fiscal year. Fourth, our stockholders have approved the redomestication of Tesla from Delaware to Texas.
这个通过了，我觉得真是很不容易。从把这个州换到 Texas 很不容易。
Fifth and finally, our stockholders have approved the ratification of the 100% performance-based stock option award to Elon Musk that was approved by stockholders in 2018.
我们要的10倍，今天跌了75%，对，没事儿啊。我天，好吧，我就不站起来了啊！大家都站起来，我就不站起来了。你们可以站起来。
The meeting is now closed, and with that, Tesla shareholders, let's welcome Elon Musk.
我们等的主要是他的演讲，所以我们直播开始的正是时候啊，正是时候，看大家讲一讲。我希望他那个给我们散户啊3鞠躬，或者给我们3鞠躬，或者这个什么，或者这个脱帽致敬吧，至少啊。
Complacent about it, it will happen.
This was really the beginning.
嗨，极客小猪你好。
I actually think the company could.
FSE 测得怎么样
？Tesla's Model Y is the world's best-selling car, beating out Toyota's RAV4 and its Corolla models. Regarding FSD version 12, it's profound. The rate of improvement is rapid. It might be the biggest asset value appreciation in history when you can do unsupervised full self-driving.
I mean, that just sounds like a story stock. Autonomous taxis. I mean, can you really balance your checkbook with, sort of pie in the sky predictions like that?
If you ask the wrong question, the right answer is impossible.
哇，
My prediction is that a majority of Tesla's long-term value will be Optimus. And that prediction I'm very
对
confident of.
这个薪酬事件确实是，我觉得对于我们，反正我又长见识了，相当于是对美国的这个公司法这个一套东西，我真的是长见识了啊。你说你投资哪家公司会这么有戏剧性啊？一辈子都不会遇到啊。
Energy storage deployments, the Megapack in particular, reached an all-time high in Q1, leading to record profitability for the energy business.
伊隆马斯克都来了，说为什么股价在跌，股票在跌，这个谁能解释清楚啊？这个没有人能解释清楚。跌了吗？没有跌呀。
If you
不
value
是在涨
Tesla
吗？
as an
然后
auto company, it's just the wrong framework. If somebody doesn't believe Tesla's going to solve autonomy, I think they should not be an investor in the company.
好的，我来，不好意思啊，我这个确实是一个人声音弄不过来啊，我的声音比视频声音大太多了，导致如果放大声音看视频，我说话很大声，如果小声就会听到我的，听不到马斯克。一会儿他讲的话，我不会说话了，一会儿，对。耶，瑞来了，你好，瑞。
Hey guys，
瑞也是为了这个特斯拉股票都生病了，你们知道吗
Welcome to the？Tesla
为了这
Shareholder
操碎了
meeting
心的瑞。
And I just want to start off by saying, hot damn, I love you guys. Yeah. We have the most awesome shareholder base. I mean, it's just incredible. Any public company, it's incredible. Wow. We've got a great sort of shareholder meeting here to recap the achievements of the company and tell you about where we're going. And I think it's incredible. I think we're not just opening a new chapter for Tesla, we're starting a new book. Okay. So those of you who have been following Tesla closely understand, like you get it, So like important thing is you get it. I mean, it's where things are going, I think is just going to be absolutely mind-blowing. We're obviously making great progress in solving the sustainable energy
好的，我把麦克
problem
声音
of
稍微
electric
放小了一点，
vehicles
然后
with
再放小一
stationary
点。
storage, with solar, and then I think in terms of the value of the company, autonomy is just such a mind-blowing thing that, like I said, you guys understand, but I think most of the world does not yet understand. So, in talking to a lot of the sort of the big institutional investors, when they're often in like New York and they don't drive cars, so I'll be like, have you driven our car? Or have you tried self-driving? The version 12.3, and they're like, oh no, okay. Well, you should try it. That would be a good thing to do. And if you just plot the points on the curve of how well autonomy is progressing, and just believe the curve, it's headed towards unsupervised full self-driving very quickly at an exponential pace. If you just, yeah, it's. I mean, yeah. So. It's really as simple as that. And in fact, I'd invite you to just do it personally. Just say, okay, with each release, how many miles do you drive before you have to intervene? It's like literally that simple. With each release, you'll see there's a big improvement, and it looks like an exponential. So, and it's very clear that will actually go to the point where it is actually far safer than a person driving the car. And I have some insight into the next releases, because we've got basically for every release that's on the road, we kind of see what the next generation release is and a little bit about the release after that. So we have some insight into where it's going, and it's really amazing. No question whatsoever that will far exceed human safety. Yeah, no question. So, and I think I have mentioned this, but like sometimes it's like helpful to sort of reiterate and connect some of the dots, because sometimes people wonder, well, how do you go from this big fleet to actually monetizing the fleet in an autonomous situation? And it's actually a combination of it's like Airbnb and Uber to some degree. So like there'll be some cars that Tesla owns itself, and it's kind of like an Uber fashion. But then for the fleet that is owned by our customers, it will be like an Airbnb thing. You can add or subtract your car to the fleet whenever you want. So you can say, like, I'm going away for a week. At just one tap on your Tesla app, your car gets added to the fleet, and it just makes money for you while you're gone. Yeah. So you can say you can add it to the fleet for a few hours, for a few days, for a few weeks. Whenever you want it back, you can say, come back, and the car will come right back. And I'm highly confident that it will far exceed the value, like the revenue made by the owner of the car will far exceed the actual monthly payment. And then Tesla will obviously take a rev share on
他越来越
that, but most of the money
想
will go
明
to
白
the
这个
owner of the
Airbnb
car.
模式了。
And this is actually going to work. This is what will happen. So I mean, mark my words. This is simply a matter of time. Now, admittedly, I'm a little optimistic sometimes. So I don't have complete lack of self-awareness. But if I wasn't optimistic, this wouldn't exist. This factory wouldn't exist. So.
你们有没有觉得他今天的表情很谦卑啊？有没有这种感觉？
So, that's what my brother, who's awesome, he's here, just got reelected. No, sorry, this thing's. So, it's like a little anecdote. Like when we were kids in school, my brother would tell me the wrong time for the bus so that I wouldn't miss the bus. And then I'd be upset with him, like, why'd you tell me the bus was going to come earlier than it was? And he's like, well, because otherwise you'd be late for the bus. This is an actual thing that would happen. So I guess I've been sort of pathologically optimistic from birth. But that's the reason all this stuff is happening anyway. It's like I got to be somewhat pathologically optimistic. But I do deliver in the end. That's the important thing. So, yeah, and it's really just going to be something else. I mentioned this before, but like for ARK Invest, I'd recommend reading the ARK Invest analysis. That's the most accurate. There may be more accurate ones, but the most accurate sort of analysis of the potential of autonomy. The most accurate that I'm aware of is Kathy Wood's ARK Invest. And if I recall correctly, they predicted somewhere over a $5 trillion valuation for Tesla just based on vehicle autonomy, not counting Optimus. Yeah.
被点名了，他还是不知道我的6T 的估值，他可能还不知道。
I agree with that. So I think just based on vehicle autonomy, we can 10x, more than 10x the value of the company. I believe that's what will happen. Yeah, no, it's just what do you know? It's 4:20 p.m. I just noticed that. So, you know. So I think that's actually, I think that's pretty accurate. But it actually gets way crazier when you think about the Optimus robot, which is really a humanoid robot that is intended to, be able to do anything you want it to do, to be, your companion. It can be at your house. It can sort of babysit your kids. It could teach them, be a teacher. It can do factory stuff. I think that the ultimate ratio of, you say, how many super useful humanoid helper droids do you want? Like, who doesn't want a C-3PO? But a C-3PO plus R2-D2 plus, plus. It would be pretty awesome. I think everyone in the world is going to want one, like literally everyone. And then there will be obviously robots in industry, making stuff, and so I think the ratio of humanoid robots to humans will probably be at least 2 to 1, something like that. 1 to 1 for sure. So which means like somewhere on the order of 10 billion humanoid robots, maybe 20 or 30, and so then it's like, okay, well, let's say, you kind of make, let's say the build rate is, I think the build rate will be probably something ultimately like 1 billion a year, humanoid robots, like actually. And if Tesla just has a 10% share of that, and it might be a lot more than 10%, and there's, we make like 100 million Optimus units a year. For reference, the auto industry is roughly 100 million vehicles per year. So that, sort of similar ballpark, at least within an order of magnitude. And I think we could make one for a cost of maybe, at really high scale, of about $10,000. It's smaller, it'll be less expensive than a car. So, and I think if you sell for $20,000 or something, this is at large scale volume, Tesla would basically make about $1 trillion of profit a year from that. So, yeah. If the price earnings multiple is, say, I don't know, 20 or 25, something like that, that would mean a $20 trillion market cap from Optimus alone. And probably 5 to 10 from autonomous vehicles. So, I think it's actually conceivable, it's within the realm of possibility for Tesla to achieve a valuation 10 times that of the most valuable company today.
这是我印象里第一次他对机器人这个业务的价值估计，印象里是他第一次。
So when I say this is like we're starting a new book, I mean it's going to be the best book. Next level, next level. No, we need to make sure these robots are nice to us, and that's very important. Yeah. So anyway, so with that, let me get into the presentation. Blah 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 blah. Oh man. I think it might be worth us just putting a word limit on future shareholder Tesla proposals. It's like you can't have like a novel length, It's kind of like you can't have a whole novel as a Tesla proposal. So anyway, as you can see, our impact is accelerating. We're starting to make a real noticeable dent in carbon emissions. So we're really making a lot of progress towards achieving our goal of sustainability. And one of the effects of autonomy is going to be an even greater effect on carbon emissions, because I suspect that we'll go from passenger cars having about 10 hours of usage per week, about an hour and a half per day, to probably a third of the hours in the week, maybe 50, 55 hours, which means the same car will be used 5 times more often. So you need a certain amount of resources to make the car, but it'll have 5 times the usage, in my opinion. I think that's quite likely, which will be an even more dramatic impact on carbon emissions. So, we care a lot about sustainable manufacturing. Our factories are beautiful. Like, you walk around the factory, it's actually, contrary to these, like, what you read in the press, it's like a good vibe in the factory. Like, people are smiling and happy. It's like, it's nice. So yeah. We do care. We actually do care a lot at Tesla about doing the right thing, and we're not going to be perfect, but we do care a lot about doing the right thing. So our vehicles are water efficient, energy efficient. We try whenever possible to use renewables for powering the factory, and do our best to do the right thing. Our batteries are lasting a lot longer. I got too many things in my hand. Anyway, the batteries are lasting a lot longer, which is good. Safety is good in the factory. We're improving the affordability of EVs. Model Y is comparable to a BMW X3, but its actual cost of ownership on a monthly basis is much lower. We were #1 in EVs globally last year, so yeah. So, yeah. So let's see. And congrats to the Tesla team on making 6 million vehicles all time. So the Tesla fleet is really becoming very substantial. I mean, it's going to be 7 million vehicles by the end of this year, over 7 million vehicles. So, and our factory in Fremont is currently the highest volume auto factory in North America. So, and we broke the prior production record from when it was NUMMI. So it's actually pretty wild that we have a giant car factory in the San Francisco Bay Area. It's not exactly the cheapest place to have a car factory. It's like that in the Swiss Alps or something, But we still managed to make great cars at high volume, and that's a testament to the great team we've got in Fremont. So congrats to the Fremont team. And a lot of people were saying the Cybertruck is like fake; it's never going to come out. Now we're shipping a lot of Cybertrucks. We hit a weekly record of 1,300. And I think that with the Cybertruck, it really is something special. Like, people sometimes have like different opinions on the Cybertruck, but if you really want to know if something is cool, if it's a great product, like, show it to a kid, okay? Like, no filter, okay? The kid's got like no filter, like a 5-year-old, 6-year-old, something like that, or even 3-year-old, and say, which car do you like? Cybertruck. So it's like, that's how you know. It's finally something that it just looks like the future. And it drives so well. It's comfortable. It's just a fantastic product. I think it's our best product, and it's a lot of innovation. It's got a 48 volts low voltage system. Finally, instead of 12 volts, 800 volt drivetrain, the world's biggest castings. It's bulletproof, all the cool things. Can outpull a F350 diesel, which is a very impressive truck, and it can it can do a quarter mile faster than a Porsche 911 while towing a Porsche 911. So that's insane. So yeah. And if you think about it, like how often do companies make products that move your heart, that are really special? It's so rare, and I think this is one of them. So yeah. And we launched the upgraded 3, which is actually a fantastic car. I recommend trying it out. It's really a great car. And it's only $216 after gas savings, like total cost of ownership. It's basically $200 and something when compared to a gasoline car, a similar gasoline car. So it's really a great deal and a fun car. And the performance, Model 3 performance is, well, it's like, faster than a Porsche 911. It's just a great car. So, yeah. So, yeah. Yeah. And of course, Model Y became the best-selling vehicle globally. And this is something that we predicted. I think I said in like 2022, Model Y would be the biggest car in the world by dollar volume sales, and at 2023 it would be the biggest in unit volume, and it was. And again, this year it will be the best-selling car on Earth. So, yeah. Obviously we've got the Tesla Semi. We're in low volume production of the Tesla Semi, and just last week I approved the plans for volume production of the Tesla Semi.
量产吗？
So we're going to
量
make
产塞麦。
a lot of semi trucks. We're going to start off with, it's something I think it'll actually move the needle financially. It's not like it's not a small thing, and the thing about commercial vehicles is that companies that use them are super objective. It's not like it's actually. I mean, obviously we're going to make it have cool style and be an awesome car, but for commercial vehicles, the companies that make the buying decisions, they just look at it and say, like, what are the numbers? Like, is this cost less to transport or cost more to transport than say, a diesel truck? And the thing is that the economics are much better than a diesel truck. It's kind of basically a no-brainer. If you're a transport company, you don't use the Tesla electric Semi, you're just losing money. Why would you do that? Do you not like money? Okay. But if you do like money, then I recommend using the Tesla Semi. And so I think this is really going to actually sell at a scale that people will be surprised at, and will actually move the needle financially and do a lot of good, and also for CO2 and sustainability, because semis are driven all the time. Actually, even at much smaller numbers, they have a very big effect on total carbon emissions solved. So obviously we've got some new products that we're working on under the covers, and I think these are I think these are going to be pretty special. So some of them I think people maybe at first may think, oh, it's not going to be that amazing, but just wait. It will be. So. So our supercharger network is continuing to grow. Rumors of the death of the supercharger are greatly exaggerated. We are, in fact, continuing to grow the supercharger network significantly. In fact, this year, I think we'll deploy more superchargers this year that are actually working than the rest of industry combined. Just FYI. So.
对，等这周六我们再请一鸣再来讲一
Now,
讲
we're careful
supercharger。
about, like, the capital efficiency of where we deploy superchargers. But for sure, any place that has congestion, any sort of missing parts of the map that we're missing, we're going to put the superchargers there. So even for the remainder of the year, we expect to spend about $500 million on supercharger deployment. So it's very significant, and it'd be a well-spent $500 million. So this is it's a lot. So, and this is actually not showing a bunch of new markets that will be opening up later this year and next. So we're obviously we want Tesla to be worldwide, and there's still a lot of countries that we have 0 to very few Teslas, and we want Tesla everywhere. So there are a lot of new markets that we're going to open up later this year and next. We're also opening the superchargers to other companies with the that's the adapter to the old somewhat clunky connector. But our goal is to be helpful to other car companies. So any other car companies that are going electric, we do want to be helpful to them with our supercharger network. So we're providing them with adapters and enabling them to have access to the Tesla supercharging network because we think it's better to do that than to create a walled garden that inhibits EV growth. Oops, there was a bit of latency here. And we're also innovating a lot in battery production with the 4680 that's built right here. And it's a hard problem, like there are entire companies that just make battery cells. That's all they do. But we're making good progress. Like all the Cybertrucks that you see use the Tesla 4680 cell. We have a clear path to the 4680 being, we think, probably the most competitive cell from a manufacturing efficiency standpoint. And so it is a hard problem, I have to say. There's quite a lot of brain damage required to be good at cell manufacturing. It's like a brain damage high. But I think it does give Tesla resilience in the face of if there are changes in the, geopolitical situation somehow. But it's good to have some independence in cell manufacturing. And we're making steady progress, and we also have the cathode refinery, which you can see behind the main factory. So you can sort of see it in the picture there. That's a cathode refinery, and then we've got the lithium refinery in South Texas. And so we're just making sure we've kind of got the pieces of the puzzle. If you were to look at sort of a video of how Tesla does, say, cathode and lithium refining and how the rest of industry does it, it's night and day. I mean, you can sort of eat off the floor in the Tesla refinery, and I would not recommend doing so in the others. It's really, we're definitely going very, very vertical here. But I think this is it's a wise investment that will pay off more than people realize. So. I don't think this thing's working. So this year, we're also on track to complete a massive number of energy deployments. So that is a gigantic increase in deployment capability. We seem to be tracking to sort of a 200% to 300% year-over-year growth in energy storage deployment in stationary pack. So it's giant. And the limiting factor really is being able to build more megapacks and build more Powerwalls. So we're ramping up production of the Powerwall 3, which is really a game changer for at the personal level. The Powerwall 3, it usually takes about 3 iterations of any given technology to really for it to be something where it's like, okay, now we're really hitting the sweet spot. So Powerwall 3 is like an epic product. The Megapack is also, I'd call it sort of iteration 2 of the Megapack is also an epic product. With the Megapack 3, which is, I don't know, probably a couple years away, we'll start actually absorbing more and more of the substation of the sort of power electronics. So, because I sort of think you want to get to the point with the Megapack where you can literally just take the high voltage power lines and plug them in. There's no substation. We just plug them in. Just drop them down and drop it down and plug it in. And now it works. Which is like mind blowing for the utility industry, by the way. Like, they're like, what? Yeah, you just plug the wires in and it'll work. For very high voltage. So that I think is actually going to be a major. So this is anyway. So yeah, this is great. Excellent work by the energy storage team. Services and other are also looking good. So we're actually now making money on the services and other stuff. So this is kind of a big deal. Great, yeah. So let's see. Yeah, and Tesla's obviously way more than a car company. We do a lot of software at Tesla. About, I don't know, roughly half or a very huge percentage of the engineering we do is actually software engineering. So Tesla's, I'd say, as much a software company as it is a hardware company. This is a very big deal because car companies are not software companies normally. So this matters a lot. So things like our Orbiter software for energy storage, all of the software that controls the cars, the Megapacks, the Powerwalls, the solar, obviously for AI and full self-driving are a big deal. Insurance, service and collision. Tesla also writes a lot of software internally that helps, that like we call like the Tesla operating system internally, that is head and shoulders above what any other company has. I think probably better than any Fortune 500 company. The Tesla internal software is just way better. So it's just far more than what people normally think of as a car company. And Tesla is also the leader in real-world AI. So there's really, this is a big deal. Like Tesla is ahead of Google, Meta, OpenAI, anyone on real-world software, actually taking in video and making decisions based on video. No one is even close. And it's getting better, I'd say, with each passing month, if not each passing week. So, yeah.
能理解吗？比谷歌任何一个公司都牛，相信吗？你们？
And it's also worth noting that Tesla is actually pretty good at chip design. So the AI inference chip that was designed by Tesla that's in cars, we had sort of our hardware 3 AI inference cars made over the past year have the hardware 4. We've just completed design on hardware 5, which we're now calling AI5, because it's really is, there still actually is not a chip from NVIDIA or from, and I have a lot of respect for NVIDIA, from any company that we would prefer to put in our car that is better than what we have in the car. So we started from scratch in chip design, just as we started from scratch in AI software, and have the best real-world AI software and the best AI inference chip in the world from nothing. So this is, you know, a big deal. And the capability of the chips in the car is dramatic. Like, I mean, right now, all the cars are actually training. Like we have hardware 4 run hardware 3 in emulation mode. So we'll continue to make significant progress in hardware 3, but later this year we'll actually bifurcate, continue working on hardware 3, so on training on hardware 3, but then do separate training on hardware 4. That'll be the sort of training cluster that we're building at the south side of the Gigafactory, and that'll be dedicated hardware 4 video and inference. And you know, so the hardware 4 has cameras that have about 4 or 5 times better resolution, and depending on how you count the sort of hardware 4, it's about anywhere from 3 to 8 times better than hardware 3. So, but everything you're seeing thus far is just hardware 3, and we still have a long way to go before we reach the limits of hardware 3. So hardware 3, I think will do amazing things, but hardware 4, I think will probably do about 5 times better. Then hardware 5, which comes out in about 18 months or so, is 10 times more capable than hardware 4. It's like sort of, if you know NVIDIA hardware, it's sort of a B200 class computer. You know, that's like this. So what we'll just progressively do is improve how many nines of reliability the car gets. And then of course that will go into Optimus as well. So the same chip will go into, you know, hardware 4 will go into is an Optimus. Hardware 5, AI5, which we're calling switching from hardware 5 to AI5, will be in Optimus and in all cars in about 18 months. And it's really just a staggering amount of compute, and it's very power efficient compute. So it's got to be, because if you're in a mobile application like a humanoid robot or a car, you can't just be sucking down 10 kilowatts, you know, like you can in a data center. So you've got to be very power efficient. So the, you know, sort of hardware 3 and 4 are only a few hundred watts. Yeah, this is hard.
也就是说 ，Hardware 3的软件一直到今年年底，就是 V12还要在3上演进到年底。
Probably up to about 700 or 800 watts, but it'll power fluctuate contingent upon the complexity of the scene that it is in. So if it is in a, you know, parking lot stationary, it's like, you know, you don't have to think very much. Just like a person. Like if you're in a complicated traffic scenario, you've got to think a lot more than if you're just cruising along, you know, on an empty road. But something that I think is potentially interesting down the road is, like at some point, the Tesla fleet, I think, will probably be, you know, over 100 million vehicles. And if each vehicle has a kilowatt of efficient inference compute, I think there's an sort of an Amazon Web Services, AWS type opportunity, because if you've got 100 million vehicles with a kilowatt of efficient inference compute, you've got 100 gigawatts of compute. Like 100 gigawatts of compute is a lot, and it's distributed all over the world. So when the car is not in autonomous mode, which I think probably is, you know, or doing robotaxi work maybe 50, 60 hours a week, But at 100 hours a week, it's not, it's probably stationary. So there's 100 hours of 100 gigawatts of inference compute, which I think we should use. Why not? You know, when people looked at Amazon, which started out, obviously, as an online bookseller, and it's on, you know, has grown to be like this incredible place where you can buy anything, and then Amazon Web Services, like, well, they got all these computers that only really see peak usage sometimes, but what are they going to do when it's not peak usage? And sometimes the Amazon servers are down like 10%. So that's when they said, well, let's do Amazon Web Services. And then Amazon Web Services became more valuable than the entire rest of Amazon. And anyway, I think there's some kind of opportunity there that's pretty significant for Tesla down the road. You know, again, that's really, nobody's really factoring that in. But I think that actually will be quite significant. We also are no longer compute constrained for training. So I check in with the team. It's like, is there anything we could do to improve the pace of progress with respect to training and inference? And currently, that is not the limiting factor. In fact, the limiting factor right now is that the amount of miles between interventions is so long that it takes quite a while to figure out which version is better than the other version, because none of them are requiring any interventions. So it's like, you know, if you start getting to like thousands of miles between interventions, or you're like 10,000 miles to get an intervention, then like, well, the average person only drives about 10,000 miles in a year. And if it's in an urban environment, and the average speed is 20 miles an hour, I mean, so our professional test drivers get pretty bored, frankly. You know, they're like, okay, I drove all week, and there was no intervention. Like the highlight of the week would be like, yes, an intervention, finally. It's like getting to that point. So this is where actually having a giant fleet is extremely important, because we can deploy a new FSD model and run it in shadow mode and see how well it performs. You know, compare how the human drives the car versus the new self-driving build, and then analyze that delta in shadow mode, like the shadow knows, or doesn't know, as the case may be, and then be able to assess by getting billions of miles very quickly with the giant fleet. Like that, basically, that data engine is incredibly helpful. Like actually, it's not possible to solve the self-driving problem without having millions of vehicles on the road. So that's actually is like figuring out clever ways to test how good the next build, FSD build is actually the limiting factor right now. And then, of course, like I said, we are building another training data center right here, which will be dedicated to Hardware 4 training. So we'll bifurcate Hardware 3 and Hardware 4 training later this year. We'll keep improving Hardware 3, but we're going to uncork the full capability of Hardware 4 as well. So, yeah.
哇，这一段信息量很大，一会儿稍微讲一讲。
I think most people here have tried out version 12. We did say like unsupervised full self-driving would be version 12. So we are actually just keeping the version arbitrarily at 12, and then like calling it 12.4, 12.3, 12.4, 12.5. But it's actually really like version 13, version 14. But anyway, this is an arbitrary designation. So 12.4 is actually like a whole different version than 12.3, and 12.5 is a whole different version than 12.4. So you'll see really giant improvements, I think sometimes factor of 10 improvements between successive versions. And then, as I mentioned, the way it'll work for the existing fleet is you'll be able to add or subtract your car to the fleet as you'd like. And there will also be Tesla-owned cars. So it'll be a combination of like Uber plus Airbnb. But it'll be pretty wild that there'll be a software update, and then the whole fleet suddenly becomes accessible. It's like suddenly you've got 7 million, 10 million cars that can, ultimately tens of millions of cars that can do autonomous driving, and instead of being used 10 hours a week, can be used 50 or 60 hours a week. So it's pretty wild to just be in Palo Alto with a bunch of cubes, and then a humanoid robot just walks past. We've made a massive amount of progress with Optimus in a short period of time, from someone pretending to be a robot dancing in a suit, to a pretty hodgepodgey robot, to a robot that is actually doing useful tasks in the factory today. So we have 2 Optimus robots in our Fremont factory that are doing basically this task, which is taking cells off the end of the line and placing them in a shipping container. And yeah, we actually have quite a few of these cruising around our offices in Palo Alto. So there's, and I think we've got kind of like one major hardware revision, which should be done by end of this year or early next, and then we'll move into a limited production next year of Optimus. Limited production for use in our factories, where we'll test out the product, kind of, as I say, sort of eat our own dog food or whatever the electronic equivalent of that is. But I think like next year, my prediction is next year we'll have over 1,000, maybe a few thousand Optimus robots working at Tesla. And things are going to scale up very rapidly from there. So we'll iron out the bugs. Like the degree of autonomy will be radically better. You'll just literally be able to talk to it and say, please do this task, or I'm going to show you something. Now do the thing that I'm showing you. Get to the point where it can watch a video of something like a person and then learn just by looking at that video and do that task. So, yeah. So really it's going to be quite something. And I'm confident of the prediction that there will be more, like the ratio of humanoid robots to humans will be greater than 1 to 1. So that there'll be, more than 10 billion humanoid robots in the world, probably 20 or more. And Tesla's going to be by far the leader in that. You're seeing a lot of robot startups, but I think it's actually very challenging to do Optimus as a robot startup, because what we found to make Optimus work, we've had to design from first principles, from scratch, every part of the robot. So the motor, the gearbox, the sensors, the power electronics, the communication system, everything had to be done from scratch. We found that there's basically nothing. There's no supply chain. So even though there are many electric motors made in the world, there's no supply chain for the types of motors and sensors and gearboxes that are needed for a humanoid robot. What you're seeing here is our current generation hand and arm, but our next which has 11 degrees of freedom. Our next generation has 22 degrees of freedom. It will be able to play the piano. So it's really like, wow. Now, of course, like I said, we need to make sure we don't have the Terminator scenario. That's very important. Safety of the humanoid robot will be very important. But because it requires so much ground-up design, designing every motor, gearbox, sensor, power electronics from scratch, it's very hard for a startup to, if not impossible, for a startup to replicate that. But at Tesla, we have the world's best electrical engineering. I think we've got the world's best mechanical engineering for gearboxes and for electric motors, power electronics. So we have the resources to do that. It applies quite well. And then you also have to have the brain. You need a power-efficient inference computer, which we've got for the car, and we'll be using an Optimus. You need AI. You need to be the best in real-world AI, and Tesla's the best in real-world AI. So you need all of these. You need a very strong hand of cards in order to make a compelling robot. And then you also need to be very good at scale manufacturing. So in order to have the robot not cost like hundreds of thousands of dollars, in order to make it cost like $10,000 or $20,000, you actually need to design for manufacturing and be very good at manufacturing. And in my experience, prototypes are easy compared to volume manufacturing. Prototypes are easy, production is hard, relatively speaking. So Tesla has the production capability, it has the engineering capability, and it has the AI hardware and software capability. And even the most optimistic estimates that I've seen for Optimus, the optimist, I think undercount the magnitude of what this robot will be able to do. As I said at the beginning of the presentation, I agree with the ARK Invest analysis that autonomous transport is called sort of a $5 to $7 trillion market cap situation. Optimus, I think, is a literally $25 trillion market cap situation. So. Now, I don't want to trivialize what's necessary to get there. I mean, it's an immense amount of work that is required to get there, like super difficult. But we are moving very fast down that road, and we're going to make it happen. So, thank you.
天哪，这个真的这饼太大了，确实。但是今天晚上还得吃饭。
I guess with that, we can go to Q&A. Sorry? Yeah. I guess we've got mics lined up. Dive for the mic.
Hey, Elon. Last year, I thanked you for making the world a better place for my son to live in. And I wasn't clear. In particular, I was referring to what you've done for the First Amendment and our rights.
Thank you.
History will not forget it, and the sacrifices you made and the risks you took will pay off and have paid off.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, I very much appreciate that. I think you have to say, like, why was the First Amendment so important? Is because, people came here from places where if they spoke their mind, they'd be put in prison or killed, or just shut out from society, ostracized. So freedom of speech is absolutely fundamental to a good future. And yeah, that's the reason for acquiring Twitter and trying to just making it a free speech platform. I think it was very important to just the future of civilization. So, thank you.
Hey, Elon. My name's Ronnie. I'm on your right side. How's it going? Hey. I work for Tesla sales in Orland Park, Illinois. And I was always wondering, do you think Tesla could ever move forward towards bundling software as like a package to, possibly increase take rate for FSD, maybe bundle it with premium connectivity and future software options?
I think we definitely want to encourage people to try FSD, and one of the things that sort of I think probably makes sense is that when we have a significant improvement, every time we have a significant improvement in FSD, give all customers a 2-week free trial. So like, hey, we've made an improvement to FSD, try it for another 2 weeks. With 12.4, we finally get rid of the steering wheel nag, which I know is driving people crazy. Yeah. Thank heaven for small mercies. Even just something like that, not having the steering wheel nag, and obviously having a far lower intervention count, far more miles between interventions. So I think keep sort of offering people free trials of FSD every time we make a significant improvement. Okay. Oh, sorry. Yeah. It's when you hear the speakers, you're like, ears don't work,
Good afternoon.
Yeah.
2 questions, actually. First, after $56 billion, you can afford to probably take your kids to Disneyland now. Is that where you're going?
Well, I mean, by the way, it is worth emphasizing that it's Tesla stock that I have to own for 5 years. So, it's not possible to it's not actually cash, and I can't cut and run, nor would I want to. I've actually been to Disneyland, Disney World many times with kids. It's a little tough for me to go these days without causing a ruckus. Maybe I should just wear a Mickey Mouse outfit and just go and, pretend I'm one of the people.
So as we work on autonomy and we're getting to that threshold where things are getting to a seriously advanced level, eventually there are going to be some harsh consequences. It's part of breaking through, right? And I'm just curious where your mind is at on that, and have you thought about, some of those early consequences that we're unfortunately going to have in order to have a better, safer future? I'm just wondering.
You mean like scary robots or what?
No, in the cars with full self-driving.
Okay.
We've seen some companies that there's been some unfortunate mishaps, and they've just straight up closed shop, and that's not the plan, but those are real consequences of developing this technology, and I'm just wondering where your mind is at on that.
Yeah, well, we do try to be very careful with the deployment of FSD, and we do have a lot of cars. So what, inevitably, when there are a lot of cars and you've got billions of miles, you do have the law of large numbers, where there's a small chance of something bad happening, but when you look at the sort of safety per mile, because we've got a lot of miles, it's very clear that the safety per mile is better than human driving. So. So when we can show that to regulators and obviously make our case to the public and say actually, human driving is not perfect. There's a person killed roughly every 80 million miles. So 40,000 people are killed every year in the U.S. from auto accidents. What matters is are we making that number smaller? And as long as we're making that number smaller, we're doing the right thing. Thank you.
Hey, Elon, this is Bikash. I have one question.
Sure.
So we know that we love you all. We love from our bottom of the heart. We love you so much, Elon.
Thank you.
My question is, we all know Tesla will be the most valuable company in the world one day.
Yeah.
We just want to know if you have any prediction when and what is the inflection point. When we can say this is the inflection point, is it solving the FSD, or is it Optimus on ground will be the point from your perspective?
Well, as I mentioned before, I think it's worth looking at the ARK Invest analysis. I think that is the most accurate analysis. Their prediction is, I think, $5 to $7 trillion by 2029 market cap. So more than 10 times what things are today in 5 years. I think that is accurate.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right.
Hey, Elon.
Hey.
Hey, huge fan, and I think history will show that you've had a profound impact on humanity. So I think that's just given. And just a couple of questions, I guess. I fixed my Tesla addiction by putting cars on Turo, and I found that about half my renters is the first time they're driving a Tesla, and then the other half really want to buy one after they've tried it out. So I guess a couple of questions. When could we expect maybe the referral program to come back, if it would come back? And
Sure.
could we also get a passenger van, like a 12-passenger van, sometime soonish?
I'll add that to my list. So the referral program, I think we'll re-examine the referral program probably next quarter, it is very important to sort of look at what is the fully considered cost of a Tesla. So if with the referral program, it effectively increases the price of the car. So, is the price increase, what is better for the end customer? A slight price increase because of the referral program or not? But I think we'll re-examine that, I think, in next quarter and see if it makes sense. I think some kind of referral program does make sense. But I think for a lot of people, by far the biggest thing we see is that people just can't afford the car. That's the biggest thing. That's the limiter on demand. You can imagine in the limit if there was, say, an 18, if Model Y cost less than $20,000, it would sell probably 5 million units. It would be insane. So now that's not feasible, today, but I think working on figuring out ways to make more affordable vehicles is really the game changer. For most people, it is really not a question of whether they want a Tesla. They do want a Tesla. They simply do not have enough money to afford one. So we have to make it affordable. That's essential. Thank you.
Hey, Elon. I just wanted to introduce myself. My name's Hamza. First off, thank you for introducing me to Anurbeck. He and I are now close thanks to you, and I moved to Austin thanks to you. So my question is basically for FSD transfer. I think that should be something that should be ongoing. I think not only on the benefit of you for getting more people on the fleet and getting statistics and info, but also as Tesla owners, it makes us want to get the next model and transfer over. For instance, the thing that's been holding me back is wanting to wait for the FSD transfer again. So is there a reason why you haven't implemented that for ongoing time?
It is pretty complex for us to do this. It sort of it adds a fair bit of complexity to the sales process. Yeah, and it is tough because we've got to earn revenue somehow. So, transfer is tough. But we sorry? One more quarter. Okay, one more quarter. All right. You got it. One more quarter. All right. So, yeah. All right.
Oh, Elon, thank you for hosting us. If you can see me, I'm trembling uncontrollably. I really look up to you, shareholder, consumer, tripled my humble, tiny little portion of your shares the last 2 days, just being engaged, knowing we're coming here, and appreciate you hosting up shareholders, and it just means so much to us.
You're welcome.
You're an absolute idol. This question comes because I care about you as a human being, but in the context of being a shareholder, unlocking these values of Optimus, we need you. And just with all the global uncertainty, you're so high profile, just want to make sure you're doing everything to take care of yourself, safety and health for the future of the company. I say that because I care about you as a person, but since this is a shareholder meeting, in the spirit of shareholder value.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the kind sentiments. Yeah, I think I probably need to like work out, and you know, and like not get assassinated or something, you know. I mean, it is getting a little crazy these days. You know, like to first approximation, the probability that a homicidal maniac will try to kill you is proportionate to how many homicidal maniacs hear your name. Okay. So they hear my name a lot. I'm like, okay, I'm on the list, you know. So yeah, so we actually did have 2 homicidal maniacs in the last roughly 7 months come to aspirationally try to kill me and a bunch of other people. So it's not just me. And there wasn't like an actual issue that they articulated. They were just, you know, in the homicidal maniac career. So, so I do need to be kind of careful. Which is not great because it like forces me to be a bit more sort of standoffish, you know, and you know, like so now like I've like stopped signing things because just you know something. Because like that would be a sure way to like homicidal maniac. I'll just have to sign something and then shoot him, type of thing. So then I have to be like more standoffish and stuff, which I prefer not to be, but it seems wise. Like think of like John Lennon, who was like singing about like, hey, can't we all just be nice to each other? And then he got shot, you know, by one of his fans. You're like, okay, we'll try to avoid that. So. Anyway, I appreciate the kind sentiments. I will endeavor to stay alive and keep, and keep, yeah. So, all right.
Hi, Elon. I was reading an article the other day. Is Tesla still have somewhere in the product timeline a home HVAC system in the works?
A home interact system. We do not have a home interact system that I'm aware of. No, we do not one.
HVAC system.
Oh, HVAC. Oh, yeah. HVAC. Yeah, sure. Yeah, in the list of things that would be like more useful than, or like it would be nice to do, would be a great HVAC system that is very power efficient. You know, has like a built-in HEPA filter, and like take a lot of the things that we've learned in the car and apply that to home HVAC. Because I actually, maybe there is a great home HVAC system out there, but I haven't found it, which is pretty wild. And just building in the filtration system and, you know, being able to sort of maybe also control humidity somewhat and, like I said, be super efficient and quiet, which are all things that we do in the car. That would be a pretty sweet thing to do. You know, maybe we can combine that with the Powerwall or something. Now on the list of things to do, that is not super high, but it would be cool to do that one day. Yeah.
Hi, Elon. This is Sandeep. I just want to thank you for making the Cybertruck.
No, you're welcome.
Yeah, kids
Yeah.
love it. Really,
Yeah,
my
kids
4
love
and
it.
6-year-old, they love it.
Exactly. That's what I was saying. Kids, it's like amazing. It's like
I went to Disney last week. Nobody looks at Disney. Everybody looks at Cybertruck.
yeah.
There's a funny story, if you may allow. So we were preparing my daughter. We went to Destin, and then from there we were driving to Disney, and then we were preparing my daughter to. She's 4 years to just get used to the lines, and you know you have to have a lot of patience to get in the line. And she's like, Dada, why don't we just say we'll show you our Cybertruck and then we'll cut the lines? I mean, she got used to it because we were driving superchargers, and then everybody was coming over, taking pictures.
Sure.
It's a funny story, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I have a request. Would you allow 6-year-old to tour the factory maybe someday in the future? Right now, it's capped at 12 years.
Okay.
Even though we have referral rewards, it's capped at 12 years. Would you allow the kids to tour the factory? Maybe they can see the robots.
Sure.
Maybe make an event or something like that.
Yeah, maybe we could have like we're always like worried about kid safety and stuff, you know, in case a kid like goes running off into like the robot cell or something. But But yeah, we could, I think, lower the, maybe have like a more limited tour that's, enables younger kids to go. Sure, we'll do that. All right. Let's see. That, okay.
Donald Trump has been a big critic of electric vehicles. But last week, he surprised us by saying he's a big fan of Tesla and a big fan of you.
Yeah.
What did you tell him?
Well, I can be persuasive. Actually, I don't exactly know why he. This is a good question. I mean, I have had some conversations with him, and he does call me out of the blue for no reason. I don't know why, but he does, and it's like he's very nice when he calls, and and I was like, electric cars I think are pretty good for the future. America's the leader in electric cars. Buy America and stuff, and. And I think he actually, a lot of his friends now have Teslas, and they will love it, and he's a huge fan of the Cybertruck. So I think those may be contributing factors. So.
Hey, Elon, on your right.
Sorry, yeah.
My name's Keanu, a longtime fan of your brand and company and everything. I'm wondering, when you take the driver out of the seat for the driverless car, how do you plan to handle interventions, which I'm sure will happen at some rate, even if they're rare?
Yeah, so clearly we want to make sure that if there's no driver in the car, the probability of a severe intervention is extremely low. We want to make sure that the car is extremely cautious around vulnerable road users like cyclists or pedestrians. So really, we'd want the probability of hurting a pedestrian or cyclist to be incredibly low, like way lower than someone driving a car. Now, then there are interventions that happen where the car is simply gets stuck down a one-way street with a crazy construction situation. But in which case it'll basically phone home and say, "Help! I'm stuck." And then I think we can probably solve a lot of these things just by, remoting into the car and kind of like steering it like a giant RC car. That's what I'm guessing. That's what I think we'll do. Thank you.
Hey, Elon, Anwar Bek from Kazakhstan. Thanks for installing superchargers. I just want to acknowledge Tesla, Boomer Mama, and Sawyer Merritt for all the efforts that they organized the.
Yeah.
There's an after party to celebrate at Luster Pearl East. If you guys want to come and celebrate all the efforts for the community. Congratulations, Elon.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks for hosting today, Elon. It's about 4 years since you did Battery Day and drew out those very ambitious targets of getting to 1 terawatt-hour of batteries. And earlier in your presentation, you alluded to the great difficulty of scaling up this new technology. I think as shareholders, we're most interested, can you tell us a little bit more, because in terms of affordability, which you also mentioned as this huge burden, these 4680s get manufacturing credits and also on the consumer side get large credits as well. If you could scale that so that we could produce full level of Cybertrucks and also start to put them back in the Y and the 3, potentially it would greatly improve affordability and be great in terms of scale.
Sure. So achieving affordability is actually, at this point, more about the rest of the car than it is actually about the battery pack. So the price per kilowatt hour of cells from suppliers has dropped dramatically. So there was a massive spike for a few years in the cost of lithium-ion cells from suppliers because every car manufacturer put in gigantic orders for battery packs, like giant orders. So the price of lithium and like all the raw materials and the battery cells went crazy. It doubled. Like the price of cells doubled. Price of lithium, I think, went up at almost like five-fold or like 500%. Like went up crazy numbers. So since then, the demand, like suppliers, battery cell suppliers, have increased their supply, and the orders from other car manufacturers have declined. So I mean, it is worth noting that it's tough sledding out there for EVs. You know, GM announced, I think, a 50% reduction recently in their EVs. Ford announced reductions. I think almost every manufacturer has announced reductions in their electric vehicle plans. Now Tesla, we're going to increase, but it is not an easy market. But to get the cost of the car down, it's really the battery pack is a piece of the puzzle, but it's really everything else too. So I really would describe like we're making a car more affordable. It's like Game of Thrones, but pennies. Game of pennies. So there's, quote to first approximation, 10,000 unique items in a car, and if each one costs $5, or then you've got a $50,000 car. So to actually get the cost of the car down, you've got to chisel away pennies, and to get the 10,000 items to be, $3 instead of $5. That's kind of what it amounts to. Now, with respect to our own cell production, we do see a path to cost parity by the end of this year. A very difficult path to cost parity. But currently, our 4680s cost more than our suppliers. Now, they cost more than the suppliers today, but they cost less than the suppliers a year ago. So, there's a bit of a feast-famine thing with battery cell supply. It's kind of like for DRAM chips. Like the DRAM industry goes from oversupply to undersupply. The price of DRAM changes like crazy. It's kind of like that for cells. But we expect to achieve cost parity with even the much lower supplier cell price today by the end of the year. Yeah.
Hi, Mr. Musk. I've been a long-term investor since 2012.
Great, wow.
And I
That's
voted
awesome.
for your compensation package in 2018 and again this year. And shout out to Tesla Boomer Mama, Alexandra. I had the privilege to talk to you in 2013 briefly, and you spoke about the truck, which became the Cybertruck. You're a man of your word. I have friends all over the world, in Asia, Canada, and Europe, and I know the Cybertruck's been on tour. How's been the reception for the Cybertruck, and when will it be, or is it possible to sell, and when will it be sold internationally?
So I think probably, we might be able to certify it for other markets sometime next year. But for sure this year, it's just North America. We did design the car to North American requirements because if you start going with the superset of all international requirements, it forces a lot of constraints on Cybertruck that would make the product, frankly, worse. So I think we'll need to make a special version that is, for example, China compliant or Europe compliant. But it really doesn't make sense to add that complexity until we've achieved higher volume production on the Cybertruck. There's still a lot of work to do on cost down for the Cybertruck. I generally would say the level of difficulty of going from, say, prototype, you go from prototype to production, it's 100 times harder to go from prototype to production is 100 times harder. And then once you reach production, to improve the price by 20%, or the cost of goods by 20%, is harder than reaching production in the first place. It's mega pain. It's and to be frank, it's not the funnest job in the world. Chiseling pennies is not, it's like washing the dishes, frankly. Wash a lot of dishes here. It's super fun to make prototypes, that's really fun, and it's kind of cool to get. It's pretty cool to get the production going. Then the cost grind is a grind. That is like, it's hard work. There's some reward to it. Like there's sort of a reward to washing the dishes, I guess. You have clean dishes, but that is tough. So that's real hard work.
I just have to say that there's been a really big reception. Like I have friends that message me and said they love the Cybertruck design, and it's definitely a head turner. So. Oh yeah, I think from a demand standpoint, we would have plenty of demand in other parts of the world for Cybertruck, no question. Like wherever it goes, anywhere in the world, it gets a massive crowd. So it's not a demand thing. It's really we've got to reach volume production, go through the cost grind. It would be difficult for me to overstate the difficulty in the cost grind. It's really intense. And then we've got to recertify the car, which includes making some design changes to be compliant in other markets. All right.
Good afternoon, Elon.
Hey.
I like your shoes. I don't know if everybody else can see them.
Yeah, Cybertruck.
Out there. Cybertruck, yeah. My question was, in regards to the Foundation series, do you guys have a certain number that you are planning on making, or a timeline of when the non-Foundation series are going to come out?
Yeah, we'll start making we'll end the Foundation series actually pretty soon, and the non-Foundation series sometime next quarter. Yeah.
Hi, Elon. Thank you for delivering shareholder value, and congrats on your pay package.
Thank you.
And I'm Michael. I ask a lot of questions on the quarterly investor calls. And I wanted to ask you, can you give me a little bit more color on the neural net scaling laws that you're seeing as you're training FSD? Like how much data, how much more inference compute, how much more training compute do you need for each successive 9 in reliability of the full self-driving software? And how much data are you currently collecting? Thank you.
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, that's something that we go through really every week at Tesla. I spend a lot of time with the Tesla AI team, and I think probably a huge portion of. I mean, it's really like a big part of my job is like, okay, we need to get the car to drive itself. Yeah, you need to solve things on a chip level for inference, for training, for software. There's also massive data storage challenges because you've got petabytes of video coming in. And even for a big NVIDIA cluster, it's actually really hard to make a big NVIDIA cluster actually work in training. It doesn't just open the box and plug it in. It's not like that at all. It's like massive effort required to get a big training cluster to operate at all and then operate with high uptime. So, I mean, with respect to like the various versions that we're seeing, like you go from version 12.3. Well, like if you just ignore the 12 and think of it like 3, 4, 5, 6, that's actually the way to think about it. Ignore the 12 part and just call it like version 3, version 4, version 5. That's version 6. That's how to think about it. Between each one, there's anywhere from, I don't know, a minimum of a doubling of improvement to, in some cases, I think a 5 to 10-fold improvement. Especially as we eliminate sort of, say, I think we're close to eliminating almost all static object collisions. So, like curves and medians, and like we're pretty close to having it to have almost zero static object collisions. So once you get to zero static object, now you have a gigantic improvement in miles between intervention. Then you get into classes of dynamic objects that are different classes and different things can get obviously very complicated if you've got a complex intersection with traffic lights all over the place, and like somebody bumped the one traffic light and now it's pointing in the wrong direction, or the traffic light's broken, and there's someone who is not obeying the traffic laws because they're just running a red, or they got confused about the traffic light. So you get into these very complex situations that are much harder to solve. And then, like as I was saying earlier, it actually gets as the system gets better, it gets harder to figure out which AI model is better. Because now, okay, it's thousands of miles between intervention. How do we, as quickly as possible, figure out which AI model is better? And when you make these different AI models, they're obviously not like super deterministic. So you could have a new model that eliminates one problem, but creates another problem. So we're trying to solve this by a combination of simulation, uploading models, having them run in shadow mode. So it's actually kind of helpful that not everyone has full self-driving, because we can see, we can run it in shadow mode and see what would this new model have done compared to what the user did. So since we've got millions of cars that we can do this with, that gives us a delta between what the AI model predicted would do and the user would do. And if you kind of sum up the errors between them, you can see, oh, there was a bigger error stack from this model versus that model when you uploaded them into, we each uploaded them into 100,000 cars. But that's the biggest limiter right now. It's not training, it's not data. It's actually testing the AI models, and then figuring out clever ways to figure out if a new model is better or not. Like we know, like there are sort of particular intersections that are difficult, and so if we just like all the models will be great at like driving on a well-painted road with no intersection. They'll all be great at that, but will they be great at the complicated? So we've identified several thousand intersections in the United States where we'll actually take the new model and try the car in those very difficult intersections, like the sort of the famous like Chuck's left turn. Yeah. So if you imagine Chuck's left turn, hey Chuck. I wonder what the neighbors think. But there's many such complicated traffic situations in the country. So we've identified several thousand, which we then send cars to those locations to compare the models. And then as I mentioned, we've yet to uncork any of the ability of hardware 4, which we'll do later this year. So I think the exponential rate of improvement of miles between intervention will continue and will accelerate. Yeah. So.
Hey, Elon. I was wondering if, as you've called a Tesla basically a robot with wheels, and so I'm wondering, kind of as that logic transfers over to Optimus, what kind of will Tesla use any large language models on top of the current Tesla robotics capabilities, and also if so, will Optimus have any kind of personality? And would that be something that the end user might be able to have control over?
Yes to all of those questions. Yes to all. So, like, we're headed for a wild future. I mean, wild, wild, wild. Cars will drive themselves. People will have super helpful humanoid help robots. And yeah, you'll be able to customize the personality, customize the voice. and really kind of the robot will kind of get to know you as well and know your preferences. You won't even have to say things because it'll just kind of understand you. I think it will get to this point where it's like, it'll be odd not to have a robot buddy. Like, you know, sort of not to have your C-3PO and, you know, R2-D2. So, yeah.
Hi, Elon. Max here, huge fan. Thank you for hosting us. I wanted to ask you, how much integration work do you think will be needed to deploy Optimus into different types of factories, industries, like would you need technicians or just have them go watch? And like, how do you foresee that?
Well, I think if you fast forward a few years, it really will be quite a generalized robot. Like, say 2 years from now, like next year like this year it's still quite specific. You know, task-specific training. So to do a particular task, we have to kind of do a fair bit of training to solve that task. But over time, I think you sort of accumulate these kind of training primitives where, like, calling like walking, for example, is a training primitive. Picking something, identifying an object and grabbing it would be a primitive. And these primitives are then generalized to anything. So you could say pick up a cup, pick up a shirt, fold the shirt. These things will generalize, I think, quite quickly. So I expect, probably not next year, but like in 2026, it's really the kind of thing where you could tell it to do kind of a wide range of tasks, including tasks where it has not specifically done that exact thing before, probably in, I'm guessing, 2026. So, sure.
And do you foresee a cheaper version where tasks don't require like walking, for example, or so the hardware will become a lot simpler or cheaper?
Well, we're going to focus on making just a fantastic humanoid robot at scale, and really achieving scale economies in building that humanoid robot. At very high volume, if you're really good at manufacturing, you can get the cost of almost anything down to its constituent elements. Essentially, the weight, and if you just look at the weight of the raw materials times the value of those raw materials, excluding circuit boards, you really can say, like, if it weighs less, it's going to cost less. What I'm saying is that it's better for us to achieve very high volume with Optimus than to have a wide range of robots that have lower volume. Yeah. All right. Hi. There? Okay.
One of the best things about the recertifying of your compensation package was listening to all the positive feedback of current and former employees to what you have contributed to Tesla. In the unfortunate event that you're hit by a car not full self-driving, can you take a few minutes or a few seconds and brag on your board and the rest of your leadership to assure us that even without you, Tesla has an incredible future at $30 trillion?
Well, I think Tesla has a good future without me. I think I'm a helpful accelerant to that future. And for technology, it matters if you're ahead or not ahead a lot. So the rate of, like, what matters is not innovation, but the rate of innovation. Can you do in 1 year what other companies do in 2 years or 3 years? So, like, probably my biggest, most helpful thing is an innovation accelerant. Because given enough time, the various startups that are doing humanoid robots will eventually succeed. One of them will. so what really matters is, can we be much faster than everyone else? Can our product be done a few years ahead before theirs and be better? Because if that's not the case, then they will achieve the valuation and not Tesla. They will make the valuable product, not Tesla. So, that's where I think I'm probably most useful, is accelerating the pace of technology and innovation and getting to scale. That's it mostly. But I am very much heartened by and appreciate the support of current and former Tesla employees, Tesla board, and all you guys for helping out. My heart goes out to you.
Hi, Elon. Jessica, or my name is Jessica, and I have lived full-time RV for about 3 years in South Texas.
Okay.
And I just wanted to thank you for your Starship, or for the Starship program and everything you're doing there. In addition to Tesla.
Do you work at SpaceX or something?
No.
Oh, okay. Okay, but you live in an RV in South Texas?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hi. And in my RV park, they don't allow car camping for Teslas or electric vehicles at all if you're not pulling a trailer. And I feel that there's a huge opportunity there, but also for example, people who are coming into town for Starship launches in Teslas, if they could park somewhere overnight and trickle charge.
Okay.
And maybe have access to, bathroom facility or just something simple like that.
Okay.
Just something I wanted to just put forward because I know that a lot of people come into the park and are disappointed they can't stay. So.
Okay, got it.
Just a thought.
All right. I'll inquire and see if there's maybe some place that would allow people to stay in their cars, which in a Tesla you really can often stay quite comfortably in a car. And charge. All right, thanks. All right, I think so. This will have to be the last question, I think, or maybe last two. Yeah. All right. So last two questions, you and you two guys. And
hey, Elon, my name is Steven. I'm truly thankful for all you've done for humanity, and watching your companies and what you've done has been the most exciting, hope-inspiring movie that there's ever been. So thank you so much. And
thank you.
Thank you. And my question today is about lithium refining. In the past, you stated that would be a limiting factor in the future. And I know Tesla has built the refinery in Texas. I was just kind of curious your current opinion about the refining. Do you think there's enough capacity coming online, or will Tesla need to expand past Texas in that regard?
There's enough lithium refining if you count China. If there's a geopolitical challenge on that front, then there may be a shortage of lithium. But China's very good at refining. So, but I think just Tesla figuring out lithium refining, understanding what it takes, and then, once we understand how it works, then we can scale it up from there. And that, I think it's pretty important to, be careful with geopolitical risk, and just make sure that if in a worst case situation, that Tesla is okay. All right, thank you. This is the last question.
Hi, Elon, thank you. Congratulations for yet another big win. I'm Nikhil, I'm based out of Silicon Valley. And as you mentioned on FSD awareness and giving people rights, because most people, unless they really experience it, they don't quite know how safe it is becoming and how convenient it is becoming. Mm-hmm. So I built TesMe company. It's a platform for Tesla owners to offer learning experiences, FSD. And we would love to explore how we can help scale with your support and guidance. We'd love to have a follow-up conversation to discuss more details with you, how we can work together. Thank you.
I have a suggestion.
Okay, sure.
Valuation to 10 trillion.
Okay.
Can you allow me one?
Sure. You really want to ask a question?
Follow-up, please.
I'm not sure how to answer that question exactly, but I mean we are focused on improving FSD for sure. And I think the adoption will be widespread. Like when it is really working insanely well, and it's driving like a 5-star Uber driver, I think adoption will be very, very quick. All right.
Thank you.
All right.
I indeed have a really good suggestion.
Okay, what's the suggestion? Sure.
I shared this suggestion with one of your FST team, but I don't know whether it reached you or not. Basically, as FST keep on improving, we are not quite sure at what rate it will be improving the march of lines. So so a lot of skepticism remains as to when you can exactly operate the robot taxi. So it occurred to me that in between supervised FSD and robot taxi, there is something intermediate stage that's commercializable, which is what I would call a robot rental car. Okay, the idea is that you would people would go to your platform to order a rental car, and you would deliver that overnight to the front of their driveway, and then so the only time that that car will be driving without a person is at night with nobody, and you can take as long as you want, and you drop in the front of the car, and after that it's supervised. So that will get you to a commercialization much sooner, much more guaranteed. So that's my suggestion.
All right, well, I appreciate the thought. I think, like I said, the progress in FSD will be really amazing. You'll see with each successive version. Like I said, the best way to think of FSD, ignore the 12, just think of the point number. We're going from version 3 to 4 to 5 to 6, and you'll see just radical improvements with each successive version. You know, I mean, if the current trend continues, it's going to be like you will really find that you don't intervene in the course of a year, type of thing. So even in complex situations. Anyway, with that, thank you very much for your support. So thanks, guys.
哇，这么长，OK， 哇，终于结束了！天哪，这么长的一个，对，他都站累了，绝对是站累了。这个，哎，我这个声音可以吗？大还是小？声音你们觉得大还是小？这个声音，我来调一下。站累了，绝对的累了。OK。哦，声音很好 ，OK。对，他上次，我记得去年，对，去年他去中国访问，回来之后，也是，直接就来奥斯汀我们的 office 了。我们当时当天回来，当天晚上给我们开会，也是这样，站了大概有3个小时，然后最惨的是他儿子那个 Little X 也在那儿跟着待着。都已经无聊的不行了，都已经，真是工作狂。你说他忽略特斯拉了吗？我真是一直不同意这一点啊，真的。所以说这一次股东大会还是我觉得还是要表达一下激动之情吧，真的是我非常激动啊！看那个瑞昨天晚上也是第一时间就给大家发送这个实体@我 Cybercat， 我们确实都非常非常激动啊，我觉得这一次真的是，又一次考验了我们散户啊，考验了我们散户的这个智慧啊。然后作为他来讲，我觉得他应该是非常感激我们的啊。他没有3鞠躬，最后给了我们一个心嘛，最后给了1颗，是吧？真是这个，哎，我这个确实我觉得我们真的不容易，我们做散户真的不容易，投资特斯拉股票也真的是太不容易了，也真的是这整个的过程啊，我觉得这个新进来的人，然后会慢慢的体会，我觉得就是新进来的投资者会慢慢的体会到这一点，就真的是太不容易了。我觉得这股东大会上他的 presentation，其实谈了 FSD Optimus 电池，对吧？都谈了。我觉得最让我们鼓舞的就是说估值了，对吧？这个他同意了，他提 ARK 提了几次？3-4次吧， 这 ARK 的这个 ARK 这个估值的这个分析也是来的挺是时候的，正好就让它引用了，是吧？2029年以前啊，5到7个trillion啊，就是只是这个 robotaxi 啊，只是 FSD 和 robotaxi 5到7个trillion啊，然后 Optimus 25个trillion啊，就是这个这个如果大家只关心估值的话，可以到这儿就结束了，是不是很激动啊？是不是很激动啊？这个跟我的这个就是跟我和瑞的6个trillion估值差不多，是吧？他不知道，他以后他应该引用我们的估值啊，所以这个真的是确实是很激动。我觉得你们觉得会不会那5到7年5到7个trillion需要2029年吗？我是希望他下一个这个他的 package compensation package 赶紧再出来啊，就是按照5到7个 trillion 的这个估值作为他的最后的一个 milestone 啊，当然中间可以有很多个 milestone 啊，对，所以这个就是一个我觉得是非常非常怎么说呢？至少这个5到7个trillion到我们今天看我们今天这个 FSD 这一刻到2029年，我觉得为什么不能实现呢？为什么不能呢？反正我是很激动啊，这个然后他presentation 回答一些问题，我们先说 FSD 吧，我觉得就是我自己比较熟悉的这个地方啊，就是 FSD 呢我觉得说的事情呢。其实挺硬提的，就是今天我们12.4.1推送了，对吧？我收到了一些这个网友他在网上也进行了这个就是他们的录播嘛，对不对？他们的测试我把我这个稍微的弄大一点，然后我看到了很多人说很失望嘛，对吧？就觉得没有5到10倍啊，对，没有5到10倍。我是这么看这个问题的啊。我觉得这一次这个就是反正。首先这个它的 evaluation 就我包括所有的网友，包括你们看我们评测视频的人，你们看待这个东西的去评价它都是非常非常主观的，所以说它的5到10倍是怎么来的呢？从它今天的这个一系列介绍里面呢，我大概能够猜出来，就是说它是首先 evaluation 就是一个模型的这个，它说现在 FSD 的瓶颈。感觉不是 data 也不是算力，而是怎么样去评价一个就是一个模型。确实这样，就是说当这个我是非常理解的。当这个东西FSD 已经好到一定程度之后，你光靠数这个就是说比如说这个很有可能几个模型，他们在这个 miles per intervention 上，他们是在一个数量级的。就是在数量级的，比如说你不能说，它就那个有5个 intervention， 然后那个有7个 intervention， 然后5个就绝对比7个好，我觉得这是不对的。如果在一个数量级上，你光看这个看不了的，你需要一些这个非常强的统计数据，就是在大量统计数据，特别是来自于全北美的统计数据，就是我们不能就比如说你在就像我们作为这个评测的人，我们很主观的就在某一个就是我们很熟悉的路口，对吧？说这个好还是坏了，对吧？这是太主观了这些东西。所以作为特斯拉，它来评价，它来做一个这个闭环，它来做这个评价系统，它这个评价系统必须到位，没有这个评价系统到位，那你不就是在盲人摸象嘛，对吧？所以你的评价系统很关键。那么看起来这个评价系统他们还在摸索啊，那么它透露了一个，就是说用影子模式呢，这个通过影子模式来，就是你光有影子模式，对吧？你这个也还是非常难，就是你怎么来确定就是哪一个更好？所以他们肯定在去研究一些 metric 啊，这个 evaluation 他们提了很久了，就是比较早的，就是这个 Phil 段很早就在 Twitter 上讲了，就是说 evaluation 很难，非常难啊，所以这个问题就是他今天最重点强调的就是我怎么样能够把这个 evaluation 做好，这样的话你才能够明确知道我哪个模型好，否则你不真的是盲人摸象。然后他提到了一些从3到4的一些一个比较重要的一些提升，比如说这个大家最关心的这个车总蹭 curb， 对吧？然后撞这些 medium， 然后这些东西看就是这种 static 的东西就是几乎没有了。 几乎没有了。所以说他们看来 evaluation 的时候，他们会把这个一些分门别类，对吧？比如说 static， 然后有这个 dynamic 的啊，然后就通过这些来确定什么 model 好，然后来推送哪一个啊。所以我觉得这个事情是一个叫做什么？是你必须要做的，做出来了，那后面就顺了。所以这是一个我觉得他今天在 FSD 上呢讲的，就是在软件上讲的一个最重要事情啊，就是5到10倍提升。我不觉得他在骗我们啊，只不过我觉得我们这个就有些东西可能是不是你立即主观上能够马上感受到的啊，这个事情，驾驶感舒服一些了吗？现在这个版本一脚电门一脚刹车都要吐了。你是V12吗？听着像 V11啊。V12已经好很多了啊。我12.4.1好像是确实是在刹车上，就是到红绿灯刹车上确实是那个顺了一点啊，我感觉是啊。对，这个同样还是非常主观的一件事情，对吧？这个距离它的这个 miles per intervention， 就比如拿以这个作为目标的，或者说它有什么新的 metric 来讲的话。这个可能都不是特别V9什么东西啊，然后这是软件对吧？硬件呢，它还是强调了这个，还是在讲 hardware 3和4和5的事情，对吧？这个和这个其实并没有特别多的信息量，但是他说的就是 hardware 4，看来今年年底要真正的这个差异化了，就是今天 hardware 4的算力和摄像头并没有完全是。根本就没有这个对它进行任何的挖掘，就是它用的就是完全 hardware 3的这一套这个 emulation 的这个东西，所以 hardware 4的等它就是那么说明团队还要做半年在 hardware 3上，就是在 V12这一套，他们认为还有半年的时间还可以挖掘，后面就是 hardware 4的事情。然后再到18个月，就是明年底的时候就 hardware 5的事情了啊。所以我们看这种布局来看，再看今天 FSD 的 V12在 hardware 3就到这个水平了，我还是不要说我们吧，我有什么理由啊？我有什么理由不相信2029年达到这个马斯克和阿尔克共同认同的这一点？那么就是实现 robotaxi。我有什么理由不相信？我必须相信啊！我必须相信。对，然后他还提到了这个就有人问他这个 take rate 的问题嘛这个，然后他说这个。他没有明确回答嘛？我觉得他说的就是每次一个大的更新都要给用户2周的 free trial 免费使用，这是挺好的，这个啊，这是非常好啊，然后我看我们网友说这个新的硬件啊，这个会是什么样？说 robotaxi 呢，我觉得是会8月8号会公布新的硬件。我觉得你的猜测很有道理，就是会 hardware 5，就是这个新的推理芯片和新的硬件一套，这个新的这个传感器可能会同时公布啊。但是我还是依然不认为会有什么毫米波雷达。毫米波雷达，我到今天安端到端之后，我觉得更不需要了，就是完全不需要了啊，就是多一些摄像头或者摄像头的盲区控制的更好一点啊，我觉得是这样一个就是一个形式，所以说大概FIC 大概就是这样，对吧？我还有什么漏的没有？或者你们可以问一下啊。好像没有讲 Dojo， 对，我们就也没有提，也没有人问吧？这个 Dojo 的问题啊。然后是机器人，对吧？机器人的话呢，就是它的就是等于说是达到25个trillion这样的下一步了啊。我们要不要？我们还是应该畅想一下，对不对？畅想一下，尽管非常早，他今天提了，他说，他认为机器人对于初创公司 startup 是没有机会的。我在想他在指谁啊？是不是 Figure AI？他的观点是，倒并不是说软件，而是说硬件，这也挺有意思的啊。他说硬件这个，导致 startup 没有机会，是因为供应链的问题，说每一个 part 都要 design 是供应链问题，等等等等等等等等啊。这个我不是特别懂啊，但是我感觉这个东西就像今天的 EV 一样，那么等你做出来了，等你把这个供应链培养出来了，那他们不就跟上了吗？对吧？他们就跟着你坐收渔利吧，不就是这样子吗？对吧？所以我觉得， 对，可能他觉得是现在今天的这个跟特斯拉同时的这个 startup 没有机会啊，那也有道理，对吧？就是还没坚持到特斯拉这个把供应链带起来，他们就死了，那也有道理，对吧？我怀疑 Hardware 3可能不准加入 robotics， 要不现在换车吧？你着啥急啊？你等着那个 robotics 那天公布之后，你再换车呗啊，你再换车啊，然后这个然后这个 Optimus 呢，有在这个就是它的介绍，它的这个规划来讲，它还是跟今年电话会议差不多，对吧？他说明年，这个今年年底或者明年在自己工厂里面，对吧？就 partially mass production， 对吧？然后他提到挺有意思的，他说这个。现在的这个机器人的学习，就是说这个学习这个人类的训练过程，采集数据你们从视频当中看到了，对吧？是人为的在用一些这个设计好的一些这个3D 这个系统啊，这个来教它啊，来采集数据啊，但是他说他畅想的是什么呢？他畅想的是。首先还是我人来教他，但是可能不是需要这么笨的方法啊。我认为他可能在研究这个方向。然后他说，甚至呢，就是让这个机器人看视频啊，看视频一看就看会了。我觉得这些都是他现在我认为他急需要解决的问题，就是现在的这个训练机器人采集数据方式很难 scale 啊，就是马斯克是最痛恨不能够 scale 的事情。啊，他是最痛恨的，因为这个东西就直接决定了未来这东西能不能量产啊，能不能，就是如果不是一个能量产的东西，他不感兴趣的啊，他一定要解决这个问题啊。像我们今天的这所谓的这些 FSD， 为什么特斯拉的这个走到了最后，就是因为他从一开始就是这么想的，就是你的东西能不能量产啊？你现在采集数据如果得需要这么笨这么土的方法，那不行，他就是要解决这个问题啊，他就要解决这个问题啊，所以。这个对，反正他也提到了这个就是机器人就是用同一套这个推理芯片嘛 ，Hardware 4、Hardware 5，对吧？啊，这些都是这个特斯拉优势。那么对他没有提 Dojo， 但是他对于特斯拉的这个 AI 软件和 AI 芯片。我认为主要是推理芯片，浓墨重彩啊，我其实是很认同的，就是试问今天在 AI 领域能够通过视频输入处理视频，然后进行真正的在这个 AI 上然后的应用，就是特斯拉是最大规模的而且是端到端，真的是我觉得是 AI 这个领域的计算机视觉的一个突破，就是它不只是一个我们 FSE 的突破，是整个 AI 领域的一个突破啊。所以我觉得我很认同就是他所说的啊。然后他也再次说了，就是说这个亚马逊 AWS 的这个数据的这个中心的模式，然后他对比我们是特斯拉100万辆100个 million 这样的一个体量。的多少瓦特，然后做推理芯片这样的一个，这个他又在强调啊，这就是我觉得是他一直在想这个问题啊，然后他也还在想，又提出了这个 Airbnb 模式啊，他今天又在提这个，我觉得就是他反复提的东西，说明他就是一直在想的事情啊，就是一直在想的事情，就是怎么达到5到7个 trillion 的 robotaxi， 不是说robotaxi 光实现了就是怎么样了，它的在商业上是怎么运行，怎么能够 make sense， 就是说他都在考虑这些一系列的问题啊，对。然后关于电池，我觉得这个他还是在强调，其实还是在强调 hedge 这个问题，对吧？就是他又说了 geopolitical issue， 对吧？现在的这个电池现在看起来是没啥问题啊，用这个比如中国的这个电池，但是他肯定很忧虑这个问题，对吧？现在有什么关税啊，有各种在报复反报复各种的话，它需要特斯拉自己的拥有这个电池技术，拥有这个量产能力，然后来hedge这些问题啊。我觉得这都是很明智的啊，因为到时候万一发生了什么了，你再蹦出来说，嘿，这个怎么回事哈？这个对吧？ 就他现在就已经在考虑这些问题然后他说从 cost 来讲是年底之前和供应商parity 嘛，这个他之前也已经说过了啊，已经说过了，然后还有我觉得这个后面问的挺有意思的，甚至都问了他什么第一修正案啊，什么迪士尼啊这种问题，真的是围绕着咱们特斯拉，你就得去接受这些，就是他的这里面的围绕他的各种的这个问题，还问了 Trump 对吧？就是他的各种的这些，你说任意其他的公司，你会有这种问题吗？但是对于他来说就是这样。其实不光是我们特斯拉的这个股东持有者，你说总统候选人关注不关注他？共和党、民主党当然关注，就是因为这个原因，所以说给他的造成了严重的戏剧性啊，给我们的这个投资造成了严重的戏剧性啊。就在前2天，还有这个你们看《华尔街时报》还在登出文章啊，还在说这个他和这个什么多名的员工啊，什么生孩子啊之类的，对吧？这个还在讲这些事情，还在试图引导或者说误导我们这个投资者到最后投票。你看，其实确实这个投票啊，你们看那个图，确实是到这11号、12号啊还在非常焦灼，但是一直是领先的，就是说 for 一直是领先 against， 这个是没问题的啊。但是我还是就是说嘛，就是我们要大幅领先的话，这样的话这多好，对吧？就是大幅领先所以这次投票真的是我觉得我太激动了。我看到一些这次投票我也是啊，通过这次投票我也发现了，就是说我觉得特斯拉的内部员工啊也真的是想法各异啊，这个反正我这个对于这个就是反正我自己是很有看法的，我自己是非常非常有看法的啊。对，就是说你看啊，我其实想谈一点，我一直想谈一点就是大家一直批评这个特斯拉的这个董事会，这个董事会今天挺有意思啊，这个默多克和他的弟弟 Kimball Musk 又当选了我还以为这个可能会有人反对，有点悬，你看人家又当选了啊。一直有人批评特斯拉董事会不中立啊，我觉得是这个事情是这样子的啊，就是说在我看来，有马斯克这种强人，这种能力极强的人的这样的一个公司，董事会中立不中立，或者说在你们看来有没有那么多 independent member， 我觉得都不重要，都真的是不重要，因为公司，因为所有股东包括董事会都知道公司太需要他了，所以说他就自然而然的天然的成为了这个最重要的人。那个你们知道他为什么不是这个董事会主席对吧？这个如果不知道的，是因为他那一次就是说这个要 take Tesla 去那个 private 私有化这问题，把 SEC 给惹怒了， SEC 跟他和解，是不让他当董事会主席。但是你觉得他当不当董事会主席，对于他在董事会中的这个地位和他的说话的这个权利，你觉得有任何丝毫影响吗？没有任何丝毫影响。多了几个 independent member 又能怎么样呢？你们看 OpenAI 够中立吧？这董事会够牛吧？都能把Sam Altman给 fire 了，牛不牛？这是董事会。但你有啥用啊？全公司都知道都需要他，你没有他不行，你董事会你把他 fire 有什么用啊？到时候人家把你董事会给 fire 了，对吧？董事会 fire 重新又选出来，所以说没有意义，你知道吗？这个东西你作为马斯克这样这么这个能力强的人，必不可少的人，决定公司命运的人，有啥你弄多少个 independent board member 都没用啊！你到时候就是我们这散户跟 board 干，如果这 board 在从中有问题的话，肯定是我们散户跟 board 干。这次我们这散户跟 court 干，对吧？到那一天，如果真的有什么你们是说 independent member 的话，我们散户就跟 board 干，对吧？所以说这个东西，你看似说什么，哎呀，这程序什么什么什么的，你得看情况，我们这特斯拉不是这个今天的苹果，不是 Tim Cook 这样的 CEO， 是马斯克这样的 CEO， 是大家我们现在经过这次这个戏剧性的这种让我说就是说这个 Delaware 这王八蛋的这种这个裁决。我们否则的话，你看我作为这个，然后咱们就买个股票，你说至于居然会有这种非常扯的、非常戏剧化的一种，还把它给否了，真的是， 所以你看，咱们投资特斯拉也能学到东西啊，就是又是多么的这个宝贵的经历啊，真的是啊，所以真的是，所以哎呀，我觉得我能够和就是大家那个共同见证，就这一切，真的是非常的荣幸，非常荣幸。然后咱们也贡献出自己微薄的力量，对吧？参与了整个的一个过程。我看有些人甚至他们投票还得花钱，是吧？有些人投票啊，真的是，这个真的是，哎呀，真是太不容易，大家太不容易了啊！这个我们投资特斯拉太不容易了，我们这个希望我们一定要有回报啊！我是说，2029年达到5到7个 trillion， 我问自己为什么不能够？今天 FSD 都这样了 ，Hardware 4和5还没使用呢，为什么不能够啊？我觉得。就是我问自己，我觉得他一定能够啊，他一定能够啊。我们好的，我大概就说这些，我看一下我们的网友留言，然后没有太多问题，我们就结束吧。这个让我们今天好好吃顿饭啊，这好好回顾这个大饼，对吧？然后好好吃了饭啊。问题是车撞了谁负责？如果车里没人。什么？那robotaxi 当然车撞了是这个特斯拉负责了，那毫无疑问啊，那还能让你负责吗？那不会的啊，他必须得有足够的信心嘛，对不对？这个车款不知道，怀疑 hardware， 好，FSD 去汽车餐厅能不干预自动停在窗口吗？啊，这个我觉得这个没有必要啊，这个你想想 ，robotaxi 需要做到这一步才盈利吗？我觉得不需要啊。当然你以后可能希望它有一天是那样啊，但是目前我觉得不是特别需要，就是到盈利到5到7个trillion不需要这样啊，不需要停到窗口才到5个7个trillion啊。那个可能25个trillion需要停到窗口啊，行，我觉得就差不多就这样了，没有更多问题了，非常感谢大家参与我们今天直播，我觉得也是一个挺好的，大家在这里面聊天，对吧？我们也嗨一下，庆祝一下啊，这个憋了这么久了，对不对啊？这个终于这件事情尘埃落定了，我们move on了，我们就不要再想这个事情了啊。对，行，那好的，谢谢大家，就先这样。